Welcome in to the 501st episode of the BCJ Pod, brought to you, as always, by the Holy Grail. Late one this week, fellas and ladies. Get down there for the 10:15 kickoff at the Bearcat Journal Watch Party at the Holy Grail. Cincy Lights, pizza, wings, all the food you can handle. And let's cheer on the Bearcats to an 8th win in a row. Help support the people that have supported us from day one of the BCJ Pod. Holy Grail has been a wonderful sponsor, and it'll be a great time to get down there the day after you had to go trick-or-treating with your kids or go trick-or-treating for yourself. So head on down to the Holy Grail and join Chad and all the other Bearcat fans, and let's get the Bearcats to 8-1.
While you're there, by the way, Dave, while you're there, grab an ice cold Cincy Light. 50 cents of every Cincy Light that you drink there will go to support the athletes that you enjoy watching on Saturdays, and the hoops athletes, the baseball athletes, all that stuff. Goes to the NIL collective. So be sure to grab yourself an ice cold Cincy Light.
That's right. As you can tell, I am not Chad. Chad had to step out for a bit. Probably not going to make it to tonight's show. So because it's is tonight Game 5 World Series, we called in the pinch hitter, the bullpen arm, whatever you want to call him, Keegan Nickoson, joining us in the Cincy Light studios. How are we doing, Keegan?
I'm doing great. You can call me the Bearcat Journal version of Shohei Ohtani. I will take that.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a lot of parallels there. Yeah. Lot of parallels. But
does that mean Chad's not paying you for 10 years?
Very, very good.
So, thank you for jumping in last minute. We obviously have a bunch to talk about. Chad and I had plenty to talk about earlier today. Now, who knows how much of it we will get to discuss. But we always start, quick recap of the Baylor game from your perspective. Anything about last week's 41-20 win that you feel is relevant to discuss, tells us anything about this week's game, or just final thoughts as we wrap up on Baylor.
I think it was a full team effort, and I got some coach speak answers from Sorsby and Satterfield about this, but you're starting to see the level this team can get to when the defense starts forcing takeaways and you put the ball into the hands of one of the best offenses in the Big 12, because that game could have very easily been, 20-27 final, and it's going down to last possession. You get those 2 turnovers, get touchdowns off of them, and then it's a 21-point difference. So I'm wondering if that's going to continue, because if it can, I think that they have a really good shot to win out and beat a lot of these teams. I also thought it was interesting the amount of press man they played, and it wasn't like a usual we're going to have loose coverage, allow 6-7 yards and let them trickle down the field. Like, they were playing up on those guys, and you might have seen some pass interference because of it. But at the end of the day, they did what they were supposed to do and slowed down a pass-heavy offense, one of the best offenses in the country, and kept them out of the end zone in large part.
For sure. And I felt like, and we talked about this on Sunday morning, the way the game went certainly was not what I think anybody thought going into the game. So many probably expected the old school Big 12 shootout type situation. And I think when UC went up 14-0, I'm not going to say they totally changed their game plan or throttled back, so to speak, but it felt like they realized we can pretty much do whatever we want to these guys running the ball.
Yeah.
And so there's not really a need to, yes, you always want to score touchdowns, but they probably had the thinking of, why score in 2 minutes when we can score in 5? And we don't need to be quick. We don't need to attack down the field. We don't need to give them the ball back. And, you know, I know Aaron and Chad talked about it after the game, talked about it on Monday night. Like, I didn't really get why Baylor was running the ball so much. You know, a whole bunch of touchdowns in that game were in the 4 to 7 minute category. And I don't think that, if you were going to tell me that going into the game, I would say Cincinnati would have won easily, because for Baylor to win, I felt like it had to be a high possession, high scoring, throwing type of game. And if they wanted to take 4 or 5 minutes to score touchdowns, that was going to be totally cool with UC. And so once UC got that 14-0 lead and we're basically shown that this is the way we can win this game, I think that kind of changed a little bit of how they wanted to attack on offense, in just the sense of, we're not going to give them the ball back. We're going to limit the possessions. I think they punted one time and had no turnovers, not counting the end of the first half and end of the game. So like, why rush to just give them the ball back?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're kind of learning that, like, Satterfield is going to get pretty conservative when he has that 3 possession or big 2 possession lead kind of thing. Like he's basically said there's a fine line between being too aggressive and kind of taking care of yourself on offense when you have that lead, like trying to dominate time of possession, trying to run the ball a few extra times to bleed the clock. And they did that. And, you know, if they hadn't gotten those turnovers, a lot of people would be thinking, well, why are you getting so conservative? But they finally got him. And then it's a 41-20 win. And he can kind of take a stab at me and be like, well, 41 points, it doesn't seem very conservative to me in the post-game press conference.
No, it was super efficient. It was a game that the longest play for each team was a run. The team that is averaging the most yards per game passing didn't have a pass over 16 yards. Yeah. So it was just it turned into an unexpected type of game, given what these two offenses are good at. And, sometimes you just don't have to do more than you have to do. Like, we can dissect it and talk about it and say that at moments it felt like they maybe went overboard on the run, but the game was never in doubt. It was never, even at 27-20. I mean, they went right down and had a 7-minute drive and scored a touchdown.
Yeah. And I think while he was rather conservative with leaning on the run, it was also schemed very well, because you think about that Sorsby touchdown on the juke at the line of scrimmage. That was set up off of 2 very successful jet sweeps to Isaiah Johnson. So when he's in the game, the defensive coordinator is telling all his linebackers and DBs, like, hey, if Zero's in the game and you see him go in motion, he's probably getting the ball and he's going to be going on that jet sweep. So he had done that twice, and then it's just a perfect setup for Sorsby to pull it back and then make one guy miss. And then he's off to the races, high stepping for a touchdown. So, like, you can be conservative if you're going to call a really, really good game. And Satterfield has called a lot of good games, and that's a reason that why they're 7-1, because you saw the games last year where there were some questionable ones, and that led to a 5-7 season.
Mm-hmm. Right. Defensively, you mentioned the playing more man, playing tighter coverage. I noticed more I won't call them 4 down, because the 4th guy was typically Jake Golday or Jack Dingle. But I think it helped in, not that Sawyer Robertson has really been much of a runner this year. I think he actually ran more in this game. In listening to things and reading things leading into the game, I think some of their fans were a little frustrated that he hadn't been running more, and he had ran more last year, and that they wanted him to not that he's even a Sorsby or what we're going to see Saturday, but just making teams, respect that a little bit more. And he did a little bit there, but I thought that they had showed more four-man, brought some more pressure at times, and I think that probably helped him hold the ball maybe a second or two longer, and getting looks that he hadn't seen before from them. Did you see anything like that? Is there anybody that stood out from that standpoint?
Yeah, I think you've seen all the grades about Cincinnati's defensive line being one of the lowest graded D lines in the Big 12. And if you run the 3-3-5, you're going to be around that unless you have 3 all-world rushers that can draw a double team every play. But I think what they do well is the stunts and that's where I fall short on the technical answers for defensive line. And when they loop around and they try to go through different gaps, there was one play where Micah Coleman sets up on the right end and then just untouched goes straight through the middle and gets a sack on Sawyer Robertson. And then it's just so much eye candy that O linemen have to deal with that I think it was the left guard, when he saw Coleman come across, just went away and left the left tackle to try to guard Jalen Hunt and Jake Golday by himself. And then that's just the easiest sack in the world. So using the eye candy, using the flashy stuff has kind of benefited them as well. Lining up 4 on the line, but bringing 5, and that 5th is Golday out of the linebacker kind of spot has also been really impressive. So, I just think they have to continue to be exotic with that because they're not getting a ton of sacks, but I feel like they're getting them at the right spot. And at the very least, they're forcing some 3rd and longs by forcing incompletions on 2nd down. So they're just making the small differences that they can.
For sure. I don't have a ton else. I know we'll have plenty to talk about for Utah. So I don't think there's really much else to, special teams continues to be really good. Forced a turnover, made all the kicks. I mean, there's really not much else that needs to be discussed there, but Bearcats run their win total to 7 and 7 in a row as we get ready for a pretty big one Saturday night. That segment, Aaron, would you like to timestamp that and do an ad read? We're running this portion of the show kind of on the fly.
Yeah, that's fine. The Utah preview is brought to you by Homefield Apparel. Homefield Apparel can be found at www.homefieldapparel.com. They have all of your vintage wear, your crew necks, your pullover jackets, your hoodies, old school t-shirts, super soft material, fits well. I can't say enough good things about them. They're in my regular rotation. I know Chad likes his free gear. He gets from anybody, but I think he does prefer this free gear over some of the other stuff. So, but yeah, check out homefieldapparel.com and get hooked up with your retro gear.
They got a lot of great stuff, especially now that it's starting to get colder. The hoodies are top of the line. So get your hands on some of those. Support Homefield.
Oh, also, by the way, the timestamp is brought to you by Turtles Brew. Turtles Brew has 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free. It's bourbon-infused sweet tea. It's got several different flavors: cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla, just to name a few. Well over 50 locations in Greater Cincinnati at this point, but visit turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. And as always, a portion of the proceeds go to save the sea turtles.
Always important to save the sea turtles. And another great beverage now that it's getting a little colder as well. So let's get into it. This feels like the first time, and it feels a little funny because it's not they're also a new Big 12 team. But this one feels big. And I think, for me personally, this is like the first time that you're like, all right, now it's good that we're in the Big 12. I mean, it's always been good. It's way better than being in the American. But this is like the first game where you're like, all right, there's actually some stakes on the line. There's a big game feel to it. And, it kind of a little bit yes, a little bit no. To me, this is like the playoffs. Now, it's not like the playoffs in the sense of if you lose, you're done. I mean, there's still 3 more games after this, but this is the part of the year that feels like, all right, you win this, you're really setting yourself up for the potential of something special. You lose, we know with the way that this league is, it's not a death nail for you. You still have to play well in your last 3, and you might need a little bit of help in some other situations, but this is a big deal. I mean, going into the year, regardless of what the teams have become in the last few months, this game to me was the hardest game on the schedule, and I think it is now still the hardest game on the schedule. So,
yeah.
With what you have, being around the team, being there on yesterday, I don't know how many people from the Utah side of things have reached out to you, you've talked to, but kind of where do you feel things are as they go into this game?
I think everyone is very excited. There was a ton of energy at the facility on Tuesday, and there was people walking by, and you would hear them talking about how they just wanted to put the ball down right then and there and start playing. A lot of mantras being said about playing with effort, attitude, and toughness, play with eat, all that kind of stuff. So I think everyone's really, really excited. This feels like the turning point of the season, because the 7-1 record so far and the wins that they have so far is proof to everyone within the program and everyone that watches UC and is fans of UC that this is a better program than it has been the past 2 years. This win would leave no doubt to everyone in the country that Cincinnati is a legitimate good football team, and they should be taken seriously in terms of not only a Big 12 contender to win the Big 12, but as a college football playoff team, because they're going to look at 8-1 with wins over Iowa State, Kansas, Utah, Baylor, and then they look at the rest of the schedule, and it's 2 home games and then a road game at TCU, which is very winnable. So the opportunity to finish 11-1 is really there if they're able to beat Utah.
Yeah, I think the metrics and the kind of the deeper dive statistics really, really like Utah right now, even with their record. FEI is one that I use a lot. They love the Utah offense, which makes sense because it's an efficiency metric. And I think their efficiency has been, regardless of who's played quarterback, has been pretty much through the roof. Now, I'm having to UC on the whole, if I want to break it down kind of group, unit wise, UC on the whole has showing to have the slightly better offense. Utah has the significantly better defense, and then UC has the significantly better special teams. I'm trying. I'm sure I'm missing something because I don't follow Utah. When you just look at the raw numbers, it doesn't paint a picture to me why their offense is showing out to be as good as it is from a metric standpoint. Have you seen anything, talked to anybody that would be able to explain that?
Not really. I mean, I guess, metrics just like no turnovers and like consistent.
The quarterback has thrown Devin Dampier's thrown 4 interceptions. That's more turnovers than UC has as an entire team.
Yeah, which I don't even know if he's going to start. Like
I think he's playing.
I wouldn't want to be in that spot if I was him.
I think the playoff and the new availability reports have almost turned things into, like, do we need Devin Dampier to beat Colorado? We'd really like to have him to beat Cincinnati. So if he's not 100%, do we really need him to beat Colorado? I think that Joey McGuire basically came out and said that about Baron Morton. Like, he could have played, air quotes, if we were playing someone that was going to challenge us. So, I mean, Devin Dampier's a 68% passer, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Their quarterback is their leading rusher in 4 of their 8 games. I mean, their other running backs are both very good. I mean, Wayshawn Parker is averaging 7.2 yards a carry and has 4 touchdowns. Nakari Rogers has 7 touchdowns and is averaging 4.1 yards per carry. The thing that is interesting is when you look at it, UC has struggled this year with mobile running quarterbacks. Jalen Daniels at Kansas, Cam Fancher with UCF, and Sam Jackson with Oklahoma State. The difference to me, though, is those guys run it, but out of more of a spread.
Yeah.
Utah is not that kind of an offense. So does that change maybe how UC is able to combat a running quarterback, because it's not the 4 or 5 guys out in the pattern, rush 3, nobody's open, but now there's a lane like we saw so much in the UCF game?
Yeah, I think, I mean, what's their like big play percentage? Like, are they explosive at all?
I think they're super efficient. And then, I got into the receiver numbers. They have a couple guys on really small catch numbers that are averaging over 16 yards a catch. I mean, one guy has 7 catches and 3 of them are touchdowns, and he's averaging 17 yards a reception. So I would say Larry Simmons is probably maybe their biggest deep threat. But like, their main 3 receivers are a receiver and 2 tight ends, and none of them average more than 12.3 yards per catch. So it seems like a lot of their big plays are quarterback run or run, and then when you really load up to try to stop that run, then they're hitting some bigger plays in the pass game. Nothing like you see in the sense of having I think their longest pass play is 50-something yards.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a running quarterback kind of plays into UC's hand with this defense, because I don't know how successful that he could be in the red zone in terms of trying to create something like that.
Their percentages are right along the line with UC of red zone percentages, and not really good, not to the level that UC's are, but yeah, they're right up there. So I tried to look at, because they have I won't say it's a very similar schedule, because they have already played Texas Tech and BYU, and those are 2 of the best teams in the conference. But like, they were not tested at all in the non-conference. They've played West Virginia and Colorado, which are 2 of the worst teams. So I looked at Texas Tech, Arizona State, and BYU. They won. The one game they won in that was against Arizona State, and guess who played quarterback that game?
Old Jeff Sims,
where they averaged 3.37 yards per play, and it was a total domination by Utah. So let's look at the 2 losses. Against Texas Tech, who has a very good defense. Not going to, statistically in every metric you look at, much, much better than what UC has shown. They were -3 in the turnover battle, and their run game was negative EPA per rush. Against BYU in a game they lost 24-21, if you look at the numbers, they probably should have won that game.
Yeah.
I use game on paper a lot. They were, I won't say dominant, but it's not. I mean, I think BYU didn't have a pick 6 in that game. So I just think we're both teams are kind of in a spot where they've been really good. The metrics really like Utah. But the three best teams they've played, they lost 2 of those games, both at home, which is surprising. And the win that they had, now while Arizona State's defense is really, really good, they're nothing with Jeff Sims at quarterback. So, this will be a challenge for both teams. And I think their offensive line, since we're talking about offense, their offensive line is maybe the best in the country. It is very, very good. They have 2, I won't call them surefire because there's no way of knowing that in October, but we'll call them first round top 50 draft picks on the offensive line. They have whoever plays quarterback can run, and they've got 2 really good running backs. My question to you is, and I don't think it's possible, and I want to get your take. I don't think it's possible for UC to win this game if they play predominantly a 3-man front.
If possible?
I think this offensive line with this running game, I don't know how you get them off the field if you're just letting them run on 3-man front all day.
So you're not suggesting change the scheme. You're just suggesting like constantly have a 4th man at the line of scrimmage. 4th,
5th, like the linebackers have to be mugged up. That whoever's not covering their tight ends, and the two of their tight ends are one's got 30 catches for almost 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Dude is a weapon.
Yeah.
He's when you look at we retweet so much stuff, but it's like his name's Dallin Bentley. Tim and Joe Royer are the 2 best tight ends in the conference.
Yeah.
So whoever's in coverage on him is going to be critical. But this defense has struggled at times. They've been great against UCF, and then they were not good at all against Oklahoma State against the run. I just don't see a world where we just line up with knowing that Dante is somewhat compromised. He's, he might play, and he might play a decent amount, but he's not at 100%. He's probably not going to be for the whole season. Your ankle just doesn't get better when you're playing a game every 7 days. What are you doing to change the numbers, to change the picture against a team that wants to run the ball against a 3-man front?
I guess I agree that if you just don't make any adjustments and you're just wanting to sit back and make sure there's no big plays, that, it's going to be pretty difficult. But I would agree that they need to have at least 50% of snaps, at least another person up there. Maybe disguise them.
I've even taken as far as to say, like, on, and not a huge percentage, because we always say, like, they got to do this. Well, they don't really practice that. So why would we think that is going to be good in a game if it's something that they don't really show? But at certain points, I would even like to see potentially, your more traditional 2 defensive tackles, 2 ends. Maybe 5% of the time, 10% of the time. And then have those linebackers a little bit closer. The ones that aren't going to be potentially covering the tight ends. Because this is not a quarterback run game where they're going to spread you out and get you into bad numbers game that way. They're going to run power with the quarterback. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have 2 tight ends for that. If they're tight ends or there's 2 second and third leading receiver, they're probably on the field almost every time. So they're running every play almost out of 12 personnel. If you're running almost every play out of 12 personnel against a 3-man defensive line, I just don't see how that is going to work.
Yeah, I guess you could I would send linebackers a lot and then just kind of make sure the stars and the other safeties are spying those tight ends maybe. But I think Cincinnati doesn't really get the credit for how good tackling they are.
Right.
Like, you don't often see missed tackles. And in the Big 12, I've watched some highlights of just some of the worst tackling I've ever seen in my life. So maybe Utah leans on that a lot throughout their schedule of, some teams are going to be bad at tackling. We can just run all over them. I think if it could come down to 1 3 and out, or maybe force 2 punts, and it's a pretty high scoring game for a game that one of the teams wants to control it on the ground. But I think if you play your usual game plan, it probably won't go very great. But if you can have something for a team that wants to run a ton and then just tackle how you usually do, I think they'll definitely have a chance.
Yeah, it's a big linebacker. I mean, it feels like every game is a big linebacker game just because of the way that UC plays in their defense. But I mean, we've seen it when the linebackers, like last week. I mean, you had Trey Collard was the leading tackler, but then right after him was linebacker.
Yeah.
And the UCF game, the linebackers played really well. And then against Oklahoma State, they were kind of, over aggressive, taking false steps up into getting themselves out of position against the run. And what do you know? They didn't play the run as well as they had in some other situations. So, I just think that they got to be able to change and give them some different looks. I just don't think you can play a heavy set of just the 3-man. Because what are we dropping 8 to do?
Yeah.
They're not a spread team. They're not a throw it over your head team. They're a keep grinding you down. You get so tired of giving up 5, 6, 8 yards at a time. Everybody starts sneaking up, and then they hit you with something across the middle to a tight end or down the sideline to a receiver. And that's how they get their explosives. So, I thought Tyson Veit and those guys did a good job Saturday with, making Sawyer Robertson see something that they probably hadn't really shown a ton of before that game. And I think they're, from a defensive standpoint, they're going to have to do something similar this week.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was just going to say was, it might be even more shocking to hear that a UC team limited the best passing offense to 137 yards. So, I mean, if there's a guy that you trust with coming up with some sort of weird game plan or adjusting to something that the defense doesn't usually do, it seems like Tyson Veit is a guy who is able to execute that well. But yeah, I think it's going to be a big linebacker game. I think you're going to have to find a way to get a couple sacks, whether it's disguising or using those stunts, like I mentioned before, which they've done a pretty good job of so far this season. And you might just have to get lucky. Like at the end of the day, you might have to have an offensive lineman miss an assignment. Someone runs free and maybe force an interception. So, I was asked earlier today, like, if UC wins this game, why? Why did they win? And I said, well, they didn't turn it over and they forced like 1 or 2 turnovers. That's at the end of the day, I think that's what can take this team to be one of the best teams in the Big 12. And you started to see that against Oklahoma State and Baylor about how just crucial those things are. And they hadn't been getting it for so long.
Yeah, I think, to answer that real quick before we flip it over to when UC has the ball, I would say if UC can be really good on first down on offense and defense,
yeah,
I think that's going to be the key to potentially determine the game, because their defense is really damn good, and they've got guys at every level. John Henry Daly, 9.5 sacks, and is also first or second in the country in quick pressure rate.
Yeah.
So this is a game that, whoever he lines up against, whether it's Joe Cotton, whether it's DeAndre Buford, probably want to see some Patrick Gurd chipping in this game. Like, he's got 9.5 sacks, but he's not getting them because he's like a Trey Hendrickson effort dude chasing the quarterback. I mean, he's getting back there very quickly. Yeah. Casino Royal says this is the first actual good D-line we'll see this season. Yes, it is. This is a very good defense, a very good defensive line. You go from him to the middle, Jonathan Hall, linebacker, tied for the team leading tackles, has 2 sacks and an interception. And then they've got 2 just absolute studs at safety. Smith Snowden has 8 passes defensed, which is feels like a super high number for 8 games into the season for safety. And then Jackson Benny, leading tackler and leader in interceptions with 3, also has 3 passes defense. They play a ton of man. So this to me is like a Sorsby special.
Yeah.
Where if these guys are going to play man and they're going to turn your back, it's time to make them pay for that with some Sorsby running, with some trying to get the ball to Cyrus Allen quickly, trying to get Isaiah Johnson, Noah Jennings, the guys that we've seen in that short to intermediate. I don't know how much of a game this is for Caleb Goody. I mean, I know you want to take your shots, but this to me feels like if you're going to play man, let's try to get it to guys quick and try to break some tackles.
Mm-hmm. My prediction is we're going to see more shots downfield than you might expect. I think
I'm all for it. I'm just saying that takes time to develop in the way that their defense. I mean, I think the UC offensive line is very, very good, but they'll be tested in this game for sure.
I think only allowing 2 sacks against the D lines they have this year, I would put that at about even with whatever Utah's defensive line can be. Would you say it's an even matchup, or would you say that you're expecting Utah's D line to firmly outplay UC's O line?
I won't say firmly outplay. They haven't played anybody that I think is even close to this defensive line. It wasn't Nebraska. Nebraska's defensive line wasn't. I mean, they didn't stop the run, and Sorsby ran whenever he wanted. It's certainly not Oklahoma State. It's not Baylor. Kansas had 1 guy that had a bunch of pressures, but I don't think their D-line was nearly as good. So, I think it's get Sorsby outside the pocket, get him moving, get some quick stuff, try to loosen them up with the quick game. I mean, the worst thing for a defensive lineman is you take 1-2 steps up and the ball's already gone, and now you're turning around trying to find the ball and doing that whole game. So, I think Evan Pryor being out is not good. I kind of laugh at the leading rusher is out. I mean, he's the leading rusher by 12 yards, and he's 3rd in carries. I mean, he's a vital part of the offense, but it's being spun in a way that they can't run the ball because Evan Pryor isn't playing. But it's gonna take the defense is really, really damn good, and it's gonna take a really good effort and being clean, and you can't get in 1st and 15 or 2nd and 20, and you got to take advantage of plays when they're there for you to make, because they're not going to give you a ton of space to mess around. They had a 70% pressure rate against Colorado.
They blitzed 70% of the plays. Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't think it'll be anywhere near that number in this game. Colorado is not a good football team right now. So, but they love to blitz. They love to send pressure. So how does that get picked up? Like I said, probably a good amount of Patrick Gerd in there. How much does that then require Royer to stay in line to help? If they're going to be bringing extra guys, if they're going to be pressuring a lot, you can't just spread it out and have 5-on-5, 5-on-6. So, how can they, how do they combat that, knowing that it probably won't be a 70% blitz rate, but, I would guess it'd be in the 40 to 50 realm.
What's your prediction for how many times Sorsby is sacked on Saturday?
I'd say, I don't know what obviously they got one guy with 9.5, another guy with 2. They're probably in the 20s, I'd guess. So they're probably averaging 2.5 to 3 a game.
Okay. 1.5 is a line. Would you go over or under?
Over.
Okay.
Probably like 2 or 3. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the offensive line was bad. If they're going to pressure 50% of the time or blitz 50% of the time, maybe he tries to escape and it could just be a guy gets him by the foot and he's running or something. I don't think that's necessarily bad. If you got into 6, 7, 8, then I would say that's the wheels have fallen off in this particular game. But I'm expecting it to be, depending on how the game goes. If you're throwing the ball a ton because you're losing, then that factors into it as well.
I
would say in the 2 to 4 range.
I think what a lot of people aren't talking about is how, if UC's a rhythm offense, how are they going to do in what will probably be the second loudest atmosphere that they've played in this year in terms of the offensive line and communication, and they will probably be doing the silent count. We were at practice Tuesday and they were pumping noise through the IPF, loud.
Yeah, well, they had 4 or 5 false starts against Nebraska.
Yeah. How many false starts are you comfortable with having? Because that will just kill a drive in one play. So, if you're starting to see that, if you get multiple in the first half, you should be worried.
And that's why I said first down for both sides is so important, because if it's 1st and 15 or you run it and it's 2nd and 9 and you're playing into exactly how they want to play. Yeah. If it's 1st and 10 and then it's 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6, that doesn't let them just tee off. They can't just, pressure and blitz in those type of situations nonstop. So, I think it's going to be very, very critical on first down to not hurt yourself and to put yourself in positions to where you can, I won't say every play is at your disposal, but you're not telegraphing that, 90% of the time we're going to throw or 90% of the time we're going to run. And, that's the way they've beaten. That's the way they get up on teams, have gotten up on teams so quickly and been able to really strangle out a team, is because it's just very quick. You get the ball back, good field position. We're an efficient offense, and we kind of go from there. So,
how would you go about taking the crowd out of it?
Well,
if you're
score touchdowns.
So would you take the ball first if you won the coin flip, or would you try to get a stop and then?
Not against their defense. I wouldn't take the ball first.
Okay.
I would. I'm usually a take the ball first person, but on the road against a really good defense, I'd want to give them the ball first and hope. Everyone always talks about the double dip. There's no guarantee that it plays out that way. I would like having the ball first in the second half, especially. I like having the ball first. Here's another thing I've always thought about. I'm sure I'm not the only person that thinks about this. I always like having the ball first in the second half on the road, because the home crowd is not back from the bathroom and the concession stand yet.
It's very practical, at
a higher rate than if, so give me the ball first when some number of people are not back in their seat yet.
Yeah.
In an atmosphere that is going to be loud, and, you'd rather take the ball first, then take the ball second, and you get the ball with 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. Well, third quarter, everybody's back by that point.
Yeah, it's worked well for opposing teams at Nippert Stadium so far this year. So
exactly. So no, in this game, I would probably want the ball coming out of halftime.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I've thought about because I feel like if you can get a stop on that first series and then score, that would just be the most deflating thing ever.
For sure.
Especially with like hitting a big play. But that's it's easier said than done, especially against a team of this talent. How do you think Utah is feeling going into this game? And do you think there could be a lot of pressure knowing it's basically win out or you're done? Maybe that forces some mistakes by Dampier or Ficklin.
I'm sure. I'm sure there's pressure that you, and I will not use the term because I don't think it's possible. You can't control destiny. It's one of my biggest pet peeves is this team controls their own destiny.
That's funny. I never even thought about that. That's good.
But yeah, I mean, if your goal was to win the conference championship, you need a lot of help. Mm-hmm. Your losses are to two teams, not just two teams, but two teams that are ahead of you. So even if you won the rest of your games, that doesn't guarantee that you will make the conference championship game.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's certainly pressure there. I'm sure there's a little bit of pressure that kind of the same thing that we've talked about already is they're playing really well right now. All the metrics love them. But the three best teams they've played this year, they've lost two of those games, and the one win was quarterbacked by Jeff Sims. So there's not a lot of positive meat on the resume, if you will. So yeah, there's pressure but I mean, UC feels the same pressure. This is an opportunity to. I mean, I don't really look at it as far as pressure per se because you want to be in these situations. You want to go on the road. Like I always loved when that Notre Dame game, that Indiana game in 2021. Going on the road and shutting people up is so much fun. It has to be so enjoyable for the players. And I'm sure they'd like to get a little bit of redemption from the Nebraska game where they did not play very well and still had a chance at the end to win a road game. You can call it whatever you want. It was a road game. So this will be, they've not played. The only road games they've played are Kansas and Oklahoma State to date since then. So this will be nothing like those. I can promise them that. Yeah. But it'll be physical. I think UC's a physical team, especially the offensive line is a physical mauling style of offensive line. So let's strap it up and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And like I said before, I think this is a turning point game in terms of like kind of the outward perception of UC and as a sleeper to a like favorite to win the Big 12. Because if they can beat Utah at Utah, I think a lot of people would put them as probably the best team in the Big 12.
Oh, if they win this game, I think it's hard to argue otherwise.
Yeah. Do you think this is the biggest game since when? I think there's two options.
Biggest game since the 2021 AAC championship game.
So you aren't even counting the playoff as really a big game, just with the amount. I got you with the amount of stakes.
The playoff, like, let's be real. They weren't beating Alabama.
I know.
And
they had accomplished their goal by getting there.
And the playoff, and I don't want to sound like I'm knocking making the playoff or the Cotton Bowl in and of itself. making the playoff, like going undefeated, having everything go the way that it had to go for you to be there was bigger than the Cotton Bowl to me.
Yeah.
Now, if you won the Cotton Bowl, then everything changes.
Holy crap, yeah.
But if just doing the thing to get to that point was way bigger than that game to me.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's the biggest game since the AAC championship game.
I was bouncing between the Cotton Bowl, but what you said makes more sense. And Arkansas opener. Because I feel like if that game goes differently, that whole season could have flipped a little bit, just in terms of like the outlook on the season.
Yeah, potentially.
But yeah, I mean, if they win this one, game day at Nippert against BYU.
Big noon kickoff.
Give them both. There's the games that week are bad.
I don't think game days hitting like 3 Big 12 games in a 4-week span.
The other options that week are Georgia Tech and Pitt, Missouri, Oklahoma, and I can't even remember who. There's one more that's half decent.
Maybe they'll both show up. Who knows?
Yeah, they'll fight for the best spot.
But yeah, I think it's and you know what? We're gonna sit there and we're gonna watch it. And if they lose, we're all gonna be pissed. And if they get blown out, we'll be pissed. If they lose by a little, we'll be pissed. But it is important to understand that they have put themselves in a position to where they kind of have a mulligan.
Yeah, which is crazy at this point in the season to think about that.
It is absolutely crazy. They kind of have a mulligan because of the way this conference is. And now, granted, they could win the next 3 and they could lose a tiebreaker with a whole bunch of teams at 1 loss, or BYU beats them and then they have 2 losses. I mean, a lot can still happen, but that's why I'm like, I obviously want to win the game tremendously. But if the goal is to win the Big 12, to go to the Big 12 championship, it doesn't die if you lose this game.
Yeah, what is it? If they lose this game, BYU has to beat Tech, basically.
To give Tech a second loss?
Yeah.
And then
because Tech at 1 loss.
Here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
UC loses here. BYU beats Tech. UC beats BYU, and we get 2021 AAC title game, Houston Cincinnati in the Big 12 Conference Championship game.
I said that to Chris Cullum at practice on Tuesday. I was like, "There's a legitimate chance that it's UC versus Houston at AT&T Stadium." But yeah,
I would love that so much, just from the why did we let these new guys in crowd? Yeah. Watch this 4-hour American Athletic Conference infomercial, bitches.
Because Houston can win out. Their remaining schedule is.
I've been watching this, and I talked about it last week for the first time, really. I've been watching them and their schedule, and they absolutely are potentially sitting at 1 loss and it being to Tech when this whole thing is done.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's so much still to go, and that's what's great about being in a conference like this. You've set yourself up to not be crushed with 1 loss because you still play another team that is right at the top with you. That team plays another team that, is fighting to get back to that spot because they have a loss. So, yeah, go out there and get it done. And then we don't have to play the schedule game much longer, and you don't have to worry about tiebreakers as much. But they, in a weird way, they have put themselves in a position that everybody that listens to this knows what I thought going into this year. Not in a million years did I think we'd be sitting here 2 days before Halloween and me going, they don't really have to win this game to still make the Big 12 championship.
Meanwhile, I'm 8-0 on my season predictions so far.
Are you really?
Which have Utah losing or winning this game. So
yeah.
But I did want to explain because somebody, a godsend. I mean, just a saint. This Dr. Zoidberg 5. I think he's a BYU guy. He explained the tiebreakers for the Big 12 and a multi-team, like 3+ team tiebreaker. Because I made a tweet that a 4-way tie for first at 8-1 is a legitimate possibility if Tech beats BYU. So if it's a 3-way tie, if BYU beats Tech and then Cincinnati beats BYU, Cincinnati would have the 2 spot above Houston. So that would put them in the Big 12 title game because it's like common conference game win percentage kind of thing. So Cincinnati would have the 2 spot. So that, I mean, if you're a UC fan and you need something to do during the bye week, you appointment television watch that Texas Tech and BYU game because it has massive implications.
I figure every Bearcat fan would be watching that regardless.
It has massive implications on how it impacts UC. And especially because, it's not the next week, it's the week after. So, yeah, that's a moot point. But,
BYU doesn't come here the week after they
22nd, yeah. But
so usually at this point I give my prediction, and Keegan, you are part of the article that will come out later, correct? With your score prediction. So I will just say that I'm not, going into the year I thought this was going to be a very tough game. Both teams I think are playing pretty damn well, but my biggest worry is just their efficient running game against how we combat that defensively. And then if we can't slow that down, what does that then allow their defense to do against our offense? So I am going to say I'm going to go 31-23 Utah.
Okay.
Our thoughts on the 10-point line. I don't really know why it's that.
I think it's Evan Pryor.
I mean, really?
I think so. I think he has a bigger impact on this team than some people think.
Oh, I think he has a huge impact, but to move a line, like that's like a quarterback is out kind of line.
3 points?
It's moved 4.5.
It was 7. It opened at 7. That's what I thought.
I saw it at like 5.5.
I saw on Sunday when the Circa Sportsbook came out, it was 7.
Yeah, I go off the FanDuel. I saw it lower than that.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, I do think it's a big deal. I mean, he's the type of player you want in this game.
Yeah, he's gotten so much better from last year, which is something to say.
Yeah, but I mean, again, knock on wood, and I know I've said it more than a couple times. This team with Nico, Aaron, that whole crew, whatever they're doing, they have been an incredibly healthy team.
Yeah.
For the duration of the entire time Scott Satterfield has been here, they have been a very, very healthy team. And so, it sucks, but in the grand scheme of things, you're bound to have some guys miss some games that matter. So, it just sucks that it's this week.
Yeah.
In a game that you would love to have him there. But, this is just kind of one of those games where I'm fully bought in. I don't think the outcome necessarily, I've talked about it so many times, how much this has become just such a week-to-week sport. You see performances one week, and then you see opposite performances, whether it's good or bad, the next week. I'm just not sure they're quite there yet in this type of a game against this particular team.
Yeah,
it's very much matchup based. This particular team on the road, altitude, night game, like there's a lot going against them that I'm just not quite sure they're quite there yet.
Yeah, I think I'll give my prediction now. But like I'm picking Utah mainly because that's what I picked before the season, and I'm 8-0, so I'm going to go with what I've continued to do. But I think it's way closer than 10 points. Like I think it could be 2.5, and I would be like, okay, yeah, I would get that, because you start to like have the fraudulent talk when you bring up, you beat Arizona State and they had Jeff Sims, and then you got belted against Texas Tech and you lost to BYU, which was a tough game. It's at BYU. It's like, that's a really, really tough environment to play in. And then like after Bird Ficklin goes off against Colorado, you have BYU fans saying that he should have started against, or you have Utah fans saying he should have started against BYU and they would have won. So I feel like there's a lot. Did you not see that?
Really?
Yeah.
You want the guy that like hasn't played at all starting that game?
That's after he beat Colorado. He was saying, "Oh man, only if he played against BYU, we would have won."
That's a bridge a little too far for me from sitting on the outside of things.
I just feel like you can kind of the outward stuff of growing up a Bengals fan. Every time they played in prime time, it was like, okay, well, they're probably going to lose. And it has nothing to do with the actual game. It's just they suck in prime time.
Yeah.
So I think Cincinnati can very, very much win this game. I definitely get like the matchups aren't great at multiple spots. I think Brendan Sorsby plays very well under pressure to where he's not going to cave. He played pretty well against Nebraska outside of the one bad interception at the end of the game, but he had him driving then. So I think it's actually a pretty low-scoring game. And I'm going to pick Utah winning 24-21 to the point where it could come down to like a missed field goal on either side. Which if you're thinking that, then you think UC has a chance because their special teams has been good and Utah has been kind of spotty.
Yeah.
But there could also be a false start on like a 3rd and 4 in the fourth quarter that just is absolutely killer. And I talked to Tarantino, or we talked to Tarantino on Tuesday, and he said that they've came a long way in communications and stuff and different reads since the Nebraska game. But it's still just, what's the average plays that a team runs in a game? Like 60?
Mm-hmm.
It's still, you have to be on the same page 5 or sometimes 6, 7 wide on that line of scrimmage on a silent count 60 times.
Right.
The odds that you don't mess up are very, very low. And in this kind of game, when your margin of error is so thin, you got to limit those as much as possible.
Absolutely. So it will be a late night. I suggest people get a nap in.
Mm-hmm.
And there might, if the Bearcats win, there might be a surprise in the aftermath.
Are you going to be shirtless?
Nobody wants to see that. God. Oh, gross. No one wants to see that, but there may be a DAD for the first time in Big 12 history.
It's Dave After Dark. Dave After Dark.
Oh, okay. I was like, I thought you already had a kid.
I do.
Oh, God.
Wow. Are you going to come in with sunglasses and your hat?
Should we have Will show up at 2:00 in the morning for a late night pod?
Give him a
with
Red
confetti
Bull,
cannons.
Yeah. No, I know. I don't. Dan, I haven't talked to Dan in a minute. The conference realignment stuff really isn't going around much, so I got to check in with Dan, see how he's doing on the season with his wagers. How many units he's up?
He's not big on the Coach Carousel.
No, that's small potatoes. I mean, we're only talking, $50 million buyouts, and I mean he's talking big Dan's about big moves. I'm really having a hell of a time putting together this 6-pack. There are not a lot of good games this weekend.
Well, while you're doing that, we'll go ahead and get another read in just to get that out of the way. That segment, the Utah preview, brought to you by Homefield Apparel, is the timestamp here is brought to you by Turtles Brew. And Turtles Brew is a zero sugar, zero carb, gluten-free, bourbon-infused sweet tea. Flavors include cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. Well over 50 locations in Greater Cincinnati. Visit turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. And as always, a portion of those proceeds go to save the sea turtles.
All right, so Keegan, you take us through your weekend driving from where were you? You were in Dallas,
Kansas City,
to Fayetteville to Cincinnati. How'd that go for you?
So, yeah, I don't get why people are mad at him for that one. That's just how he talks. Sorley is stupid. Like, get his name right, but he says program. Like, of course he's going to say Cincinnati like that. It was a fun weekend. Like, honestly, I had a blast. It didn't feel like work. Like, I genuinely love what I do. So, like, all that driving and all that adrenaline, especially on the way home from Arkansas, when I felt like I was on a mission, felt fun. It was pretty fun.
What were your music choices on the way home?
What was my music choices? I have a very wide range of music on my like songs that I'm such a big podcast guy I am
too, but like that's not the time to be listening to podcasts.
It depends. But my like songs, it'll go from like Eagles to like some indie band that was formed in like 2024, to some country, and then some rap will be mixed in there because I am a different man than I was in 2016 when I got my first car, because that's when I got Spotify for the first time. So, but yeah, it was a blast. Drive to Kansas City, got to meet up with my buddy in St. Louis from Indiana, and then make the rest of the drive. Leave Thursday morning. I have two buddies at Arkansas that cover Arkansas, so I got to go out with them Thursday night. That was fun. And then find something to do Friday, cover the game Friday, and get a one-on-one with Wes after probably one of the worst showcases that he's seen his team put together in his career at UC, which he wasn't really that bothered by because it's an exhibition. And it was funny because Brett Ryback, who's the SID, I was literally just standing outside their locker room, like in a hallway. Like if you see on the video, you can see it's not a press conference room by any means. Like Wes is just up against the wall. And Brett Ryback, I guess he just told Wes, all right, you got some media here. And Wes like goes through a curtain and just sees me. He's like, oh, okay. And then talks to me for like 10 minutes. And then I get on the road and I leave Fayetteville about 11 o'clock. Start with a bang. So that's 300 milligrams of caffeine. And then awful. I drive. Oh, it was amazing. It was the best. I hadn't had one of those since Danville, when I was a monster. Drive to Rolla, Missouri. I get off at an exit that I thought was going to be somewhere I could sleep. And then I saw like two guys in trucks talking to each other. And I was like, I could die here if I try to put my seats down and sleep. So I go like 10 more minutes up the road. And this is when I was starting to get sleepy. Like it was very apparent. I need to pull over and sleep or I might be in trouble. I go 10 minutes up the highway and I find a really nice quick trip, park it, take my contacts out. And I initially put the back seats down, but I didn't have a cot or anything. So I was like folding up a sweatshirt and putting it like right on here where you have that hard bone, because that's like I had a makeshift bed going on. And then I had my luggage as a pillow. I did not plan this very well.
Clearly, because if I'm doing this, I'm getting a hotel room somewhere.
No, come on. I'm a company man. Chad's gonna hear this.
I'm not even saying I would have charged the company. I'm just getting a hotel. I'm sleeping in an actual bed for a couple hours if I'm making this hellacious drive.
Chad knows I'm all about the bottom line. Okay, I'm Mr. Bottom Line.
Yeah, you ate at Chipotle in Las Vegas. There's another word for that.
But so the thing is, I had a cooler with me, and I had like protein shakes, Coke Zero, energy drinks, sandwiches. Like I pre-made sandwiches, so I wasn't spending $15 every time I had to stop and eat. So I had to like finagle a way to like bend around the cooler and get as much length. And then I like just said, you know what, screw this. I'm just going to sleep in the front seat. And I put the seat down and I slept for like 2 hours immediately. So I got like 3 hours of sleep in the Jeep and drove the rest of the way, stopping maybe once, get to Nippert, go to the Starbucks on campus, get a quad shot venti pumpkin spice latte, start sipping that down, and I'm wired. Like I was peaking right there. That was a fun day.
As someone that doesn't drink coffee, that sounds terrible.
Well, I was going bang energy to Starbucks. Like I was running the gamut of it.
Your heart. How is your heart functioning?
I might need to get some blood work done, but it's fine. It's whatever, David. Don't pressure me.
All right. So the game itself, I don't care. I don't know where you stand on this. I don't care at all about exhibition games. Don't care.
No.
But did you see anything good, bad, otherwise for the season? I know Chad and I had planned out how we were going to talk about. We were going to like preview the season. They're going to do that on Sunday. We were going to talk more big picture about this team and the Big 12 and what it means. And he was unable to join. So I don't know if we'll ever get to that. Maybe we can after the first game because they should blow the crap out. I don't even know who they're playing.
Western Carolina.
From your standpoint, being in the arena, seeing that it obviously didn't go well, but also understanding that it was an exhibition game, what do you like about this team? What has you worried about this team? What do you kind of think that this team realistically can be in 2025?
I think the biggest thing, and I think most people would agree, and it's obvious, is that they're going to have to get creative down low offensively more than they thought they would have. So like losing Jalen Haynes is a big loss because of like the physical nature that like he would throw an elbow into somebody. Like, he was going to be really, really aggressive down there. Now, I still think Mustafa Cham is probably your most impactful and talented player in terms of like down low scoring and on the defensive end as well. Maybe Baba Miller gets more involved down low, even though he's kind of that, I don't know, point forward kind of thing. Chad might get on me for saying that. I'm not sure. But he's like he can score from basically anywhere. And then Wes said it today, but Sincere Harris is really good at attacking the basket. But all that is kind of, there's more of a magnifying glass on it now that you don't have Haynes.
Right.
So I didn't really see anything too concerning. Wes said before the exhibitions, like they're not ready to play right now. And it wasn't clear against Michigan. Like it looked like they were ready to play. And then against Arkansas, it was a completely different story. And I think a big part of that is his young guys and his new guys in terms of Sean Abayev, Keyshawn Tillery, Jordy Rodriguez, throw Baba Miller in there. They still have, and others, they still have a lot of work to do defensively because he was irate through much of that game. Just disappointed.
What was the main, again, I didn't watch a second of it. So for anybody else like me, what was the main issue defensively? Because, I can say that I don't care about exhibition games, but you gave up 98 to Michigan, and you gave up, I don't even know what they gave up, but they gave up a lot, and they lost by a lot to Arkansas. So what were in Wes's eyes, in your eyes, what were the biggest issues defensively that led to just an abundance of points for the opponent? I know in the Michigan game there was a ton of free throws, so that's not real. That's just bad defense because you're fouling. But in the Arkansas game particularly, what did you see there?
Mainly transition. That was the first thing Wes said was transition defense was atrocious. And like Arkansas wanted to get out fast. They wanted to use their athleticism to make plays at the rim. This wasn't a thing where they were scouting Arkansas, because if they had scouted Arkansas, like they would have made sure that stuff was in place. And now you can say, getting back on defense is a part of hustling, and it's a part of like knowing where you're supposed to be. And that's fair. I would completely understand you saying that, but they would have been much more prepared, and it would have looked better if it had been this whole thing where they're scouting each player and coming up with a plan.
Sure.
It almost looked like Arkansas was scouting Cincinnati. I can't say that for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me for John Calipari to do that.
Well, I have some sources that can confirm that. that Arkansas may have really dug into the Michigan tape.
I don't know. I can't confirm anything, but I think the transition defense was the worst thing. And you hear like Wes preach about that last season, talking about how important it is to get back and talking about how important it is to get up the floor on offense. So that's a big effort piece. And I know that he had said, and I think even Jalen Celestine said that they didn't take it serious enough and practice the week leading up. Like that specifically transition defense, they didn't take it serious enough. So I guarantee he's kicking their tails this week about that part of their game and getting that right before the start of the season.
Through the two exhibitions, again, we're not taking a ton from it, but is there any one or two players that you thought, I guess against Arkansas, no one really had a good game, but that fans, maybe the new guys who showed you some stuff that can be built on and that you feel like they can have a really good contribution this year?
Yeah, I think Baba Miller could be the best player on the team. And that's a hot take that I'll make right now. Like, I think it's him.
Is it that hot?
I think most people would say Abayev or Sham.
That Abayev is the best player?
I think most people would say that.
He might have like the most raw skill projectable, but I would not expect him to be if he's the best player on the team this year. I feel like either he is just flat out unbelievable, or the whole rest of the team I'm not super thrilled with what they're doing.
I think most people, they would say Cham, Baba, or Abayev. And right now I would say that Baba Miller is probably the best player on the team. He moves like a guard, and he's like 6'10", 6'11". Like, fans are going to really, really love seeing him play. I'm trying to think of a comp for someone at UC.
DeMar Johnson.
Probably, I never got to see him play, so I can't really speak to that. I'm that young. It's like if Victor Locken and Kyle Washington had guard skills. Like, okay. That's the closest thing. And if they were moved really quick, Chad's probably going to hear that and call in and start cussing me out. And it's okay. He can do that.
What are your what are your expectations for this team? They're in a tough spot. They're in such a tough spot because this conference is so good, and we wanted it, and I don't think anybody should shy away from that. But when you really look at it, like what is the best case? 6th, potentially? You're somewhere in that 6, 7, 8 range if everything goes really good, right?
1, 2, 3.
We have Houston,
4, 5,
Houston,
6,
Kansas, Texas Tech, BYU, 7, Arizona, Iowa State. I think those are.
If everything goes right, I think they're closer to 4 or 5.
I'm not sure I can go that high, but let's just say for the part of this, like we're talking 5th, 6th, 7th, somewhere in that range. You have, because Chad and I were talking about this earlier today. You have all those teams that are preseason ahead of you. You only have one of them twice, which is Houston.
Yeah. Lucky
so they have, like, and here's my thing is, I think they can be better, but they have to prove some things that they have been incapable of proving in these past couple of years, which is we were able to win a couple of the games against the teams that are going to finish ahead of us.
Yeah.
They have not been able to do that. Off the top of my head, and I could be wrong, but the two that stand out are at Texas Tech and at BYU 2 years ago.
Yes.
And yes, those are hard games, but if you want to move into that higher realm of the conference and you want to be considered a tournament lock at the end of February and into the first week of March, you have to win some of those games.
Yeah.
The juxtaposition of that is that if you're in that 6, 7, 8 spot, you are not good enough to just assume that you're going to win all the other games against the teams 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that's kind of where they've been hurt in both areas in previous seasons is they haven't gotten the big marquee wins that would cancel out the losses to Oklahoma State at home, Kansas State at home last year, West Virginia. So you're in this kind of middle world where we haven't been good enough to beat the really good teams, but we also haven't been good enough to not lose to the teams behind us.
Yeah.
And I feel that's where they're going to have to walk that balance. I mean, I feel like you could just listen to Chad and myself from last year, and it's going to sound a lot like this coming year. If they can't do those things, we're going to be playing the math game and going, well, who did you beat? And now you just lost to a team that you couldn't afford to lose to because you have no other really good win to offset that.
Yeah, I think that all very true. And I'm kind of trying to come up with my approach to the non-conference and how I go about covering it, because last year I was, holy crap, this is a 4 seed. They beat Xavier, Dayton, then they crushed Georgia Tech. The day that Kansas State crushes UC in football, and then it's holy crap, the basketball team is a godsend right now. I think the only way I'm really, really buying in on this team is going to be really good in the non-conference is if they beat Louisville. Because Louisville is supposed to be a really, really good team.
We kind of had that conversation earlier when I said they basically they have to, for me, because the numbers just start to not work out. If you split with Georgia and Clemson and lose to Louisville and win all the rest of the games, you really don't have anything. You might have gone, I don't even know how many non-conference games they have, 12, 13.
Yeah.
You've gone 10-2 or 11-2, but what are those 11 wins? And then, okay, you need 9 or 10 conference wins then to get to 20, and 20 isn't 9-9 in the conference. Okay, 13 non-conference games. So, and that's why I said if you don't sweep them, and you're at 11-2 with say a loss to Clemson and a loss to Louisville, who are probably the two best teams you're going to play in the non-conference.
Yeah.
Then you're going into a conference slate we know is a bear with virtually nothing that will show up on your tournament level resume.
And I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the past 2 years is how different a team can be, especially you see a month apart from like the non-conference into the conference. So like even if they like what is it? Xavier, Dayton, Louisville, Georgia, Clemson.
That's what you would call like the tier. I'll call them the tier 1.
Quad 1, quad 2 wins. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think even if you go 2 and 3, 1 and 4, it's so like the season is so crazy and it's such a roller coaster, especially in the Big 12, and stuff can flip so quickly that you still have to like be in on this team possibly making a tournament run. I mean, they almost did it in year 1. Like I think they were closer in year 1 to making the tournament than they were in year 2.
Probably.
I could be wrong.
I mean, yeah, I mean there's 6 1/2 dozen the other, but I'm not sure I can go that. Like I think 2 losses in the non-conference is the absolute most you could potentially withstand. That would tell me that you have what it takes to beat some of those teams that you're going to have to beat.
Yeah.
Because like we do the counting thing, and you say you go 9-9 or go 8-10 or whatever, but who those games are against matters.
Yeah.
Who those wins and losses are matters. Because you can go 9-9, but if 8 of those 9 wins are from the back half of the conference, and some of those losses are also from the back half of the conference, the math is not going to work out in your favor.
Yeah.
So like I'm until it's a little bit similar to football this year in that the way I thought about the football team was very internal. Like I didn't see this happening because I needed to see internally special teams wasn't a disaster. Internally, we could score more than 30 points a game. Internally, we could win the close game. We could win the road game. I feel like basketball, a lot of it is external. It's you're going to be playing all these really good teams.
Yeah.
How many of those games can you win? Outside of the bottom 4, there's always going to be like a bottom 4. But that 8 to 12 range, can you win all those games?
Well, this is kind of wild, just not realizing it. There's like 4 big games at Fifth Third Arena this year.
Oh, the first league game is huge because
Houston is
going to be a great team, more than likely, but maybe not at that time.
Iowa State, January 17th. And then you get Baylor at home. And then you get Kansas at home. And BYU. So there's 5. Right? Am I looking at that right? Yeah. So it could come down to them finding a way to win 2 of 3 of Baylor, Kansas, and BYU at home. It's a tall task, but those are the winnable games at Fifth Third because I don't have any faith that they can beat Houston or Iowa State because they just have your number.
Houston is a totally different roster though this year.
Jawan Roberts is gone.
Well, I mean, not even just him. I mean, it's a totally different mindset. I mean, they are not an old, veteran team anymore. They have some uber talented young guys, but maybe at the beginning of January, they're not quite where they want to be yet. And so that is a chance to really kickstart the conference schedule.
I'm curious, Chad's in the chat. Out of those 5 home games, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, BYU, and Baylor. What are you thinking? 2 and 3? Are you thinking it needs to be?
They seem to play BYU better than anybody.
Yeah, but this BYU team is night and day. I mean, DeBanza, Rob Wright, Richie Saunders. I think they could win the Big 12. I'm higher on them than a lot of people are. They're just too talented. Even though I don't love Rob Wright, but he played a lot better last year than I thought he would.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is an 18, 19, 20 win team. Mm-hmm. And who are those wins against? If it's 18, then you're not making the tournament. If it's 20, okay, who are the wins against?
Kansas is on the road. I knew it was 4. Thank you, Cincy Toughness. So Iowa State, Houston, Baylor, BYU. I'd say you have to win 2 of those.
Yeah, because you have 7. I think Chad and I were talking earlier today. You have 7 or 8 of those games and the only one that you play twice is Houston.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you've got it. You just have to get a couple of them because this team. I'm just not sure this team is at a place to where you can just pencil in wins for that home or road for those teams that are going to finish in the 7 to 12 range.
Yeah, like TCU on the road, Kansas State, Arizona State could be dangerous, especially since that's the West Coast road trip.
So you got to start finding a way to beat the better teams to work in your favor. Because everybody at the end of the year, we talk about it all the time. Everybody at the end of the year has bad losses. Yeah. You're on the bubble. There's a reason you're on the bubble. You lost to someone you probably shouldn't have. But how many good wins do you have to offset that? How many wins on the road in conference do you have against good teams? So it'll be interesting because there's a lot of teams that have different lineups. Kansas has a totally new lineup from last year. Houston has they've got Sharp's back, a couple other guys are back, but they've got a lot of new pieces from last year. So kicks off Monday. I think I'll be there. I think I got some tickets coming my way from the family. They'll still all be out in Utah for the game. Everybody went out except for me.
If they make the Big 12 championship game, are you going to the Big 12 championship game or are you going to the crosstown shootout? Because it's the day before.
Oh, I don't go to the crosstown shootout.
That's what I figured.
I don't associate with people from Xavier, even though I have my master's from there.
Ew! How dare you?
Hey, UC didn't have a sports administration program way back in the day when I was in school. So, no, I don't attend the crosstown shootout.
Okay.
I would love to. If they go to the Big 12 championship game, I would love to do that. Maybe Aaron and I could go and meet whatever WWE superstars they're going to have on the field with some championship belt this year. Last year it was Undertaker.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Undertaker and Biggie Langston last year, I think.
Big meaty men slap meat.
That's right.
Okay. Jeez.
But anything else basketball wise from your trip, from your watching 2 exhibition games, from Wes's press conference today, anything else basketball you want to share?
Wes did say something interesting today. He was like, he wished that they got 4 or 5 exhibition games. And he's talked a lot about like calming fans down and calming players down about overreacting to 2 exhibition games. Could you imagine if they went like 1-4 in exhibitions? It would be absolutely bonkers.
I don't need
that would be crazy.
Exhibition games? Are you kidding me?
I don't think so either.
No.
But
I mean, I don't think, like, for me personally, it wouldn't change anything. You could have 10. You're not scouting. You're not putting game plans together. You're not really making adjustments. So if you're going to do all those things, then it's just a real game. Then why are we doing it?
You would think, but then I've got people in my mentions being like, "Oh, same old Wes, not going to do anything this year." I need you to answer Matt's question. I'm curious.
I will. Let me do the Cincy Light Six Pack first. It was a struggle, ladies and gentlemen.
Before we get to that, we'll just timestamp again real quick here, just for those who only wanted the hoops portion. That not official preview, hoops preview, brought to you by Turtles Brew, zero sugar, zero carbs, gluten-free, bourbon-infused, sweet tea, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla, just a couple of their flavors there. Over 50 locations in Greater Cincinnati. Visit turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. And as always, a portion of those proceeds go to Save the Turtles. Dave, show us your six-pack.
Well, we'd have to time warp to like 1997 for me to do that. But we're going to start with Everything's Bigger in Texas, which is Diego Pavia's ego as Vandy travels to Texas. Noon, ABC. As of this recording, I do not know if Arch Manning is going to play, as he seemed to be injured at the end of their win against Mississippi State. Potential concussion situation. So we'll see there, but this is like Vandy is actually good, and I would not be surprised if they went in to Austin and won this game, even if Arch was playing. So we'll then go to Texas Tech at Kansas State, 3:30 Fox. Texas Tech has sustained some injuries. Baron Morton appears that he will be playing in this game. Will Hammond is out for the year with an ACL injury. He was their backup quarterback. Kansas State has just dominated this series for a very long time and is playing really, really well. It's at home. I don't think enough is being made of. I think the UC-Utah game is overshadowing this game a little bit. That it really wouldn't surprise me if Kansas State won this game. And as
that's what Chad said, Kansas State, Texas Tech sleeper in the chat.
And as someone who has a rooting interest in a team that is ahead of Texas Tech in the Big 12 standings, that would please me greatly. We're going to go this is how bad the six-pack is this week. We're going UVA at Cal.
No.
ESPN 2 at 3:40. I mean, ESPN 2 at 3:45. Okay, so Cal or UVA is 7-1, and I don't have any idea how. They must have taken a team trip to New Orleans for some voodoo. I don't know what they're doing, but they've won. They beat Louisville with 2 defensive touchdowns. They beat Washington State with essentially a walk-off safety. They beat a terrible North Carolina team last week in overtime by 1. Cal has a very fun, which if you haven't seen him, I will not butcher his name, but a very, very fun freshman quarterback. I'm not sure how good Cal is. They're 5-3, but it's UVA traveling all the way to California. And you just kind of feel like the luck has to run out at some point. They're how do they keep getting away with this type of situation for the Who's? Then we're going to go 7. I can't believe this is on here. This is more. We're going to go UK at Auburn. SEC Network 7:30. Purely for the loser leaves town, just enjoyment of someone is going to be suffering greatly when they lose this game. UK had a very, very nice offensive performance last week against my beloved Tennessee Volunteers. Unfortunately for them, they gave up a 50-burger and still lost by 22. So not great. And then Auburn made a quarterback change from Jackson Arnold and came back with 6, thanks to 6 field goals from Evan McPherson's little brother. Came back and beat Arkansas. it kind of sounds like it doesn't matter that how things finish. Both of these coaches may be on their way out. But this one is just like, I don't care who wins. I just want to see misery from both teams, and we'll just revel in the terribleness that these fan bases are living right now. USC at Nebraska, 7:30 NBC. Again, I don't really want to watch any of this game, but I had to pick 6 games. So you have Lincoln Riley traveling to Lincoln. You've got, I guess they still technically are kind of in the playoff picture because of their win, because of their win against Michigan. If they can get this win, Nebraska is coming off losing a bad game to Minnesota, who then turned around and got destroyed by Iowa. So what are the vibes there? How is that affecting Matt Rule and his Penn State candidacy if they were to lose this game again? And then we're going to wrap it up in what I believe is a playoff elimination game. Oklahoma at Tennessee, 7:30 ABC. Both teams have 2 losses. I don't think the loser of this game has a shot to be that maybe one playoff team with 3 losses, even coming out of the SEC, because especially in Tennessee's case, if they lose this game, their resume is very light, and they, as far from a win standpoint, and they still have to play Vandy, who I think is better than them right now. So a nice little game to set yourself up for the 10-15. So awful. 10-15 kickoff time for the Bearcats. So that is your 6-pack. I will answer Matt's question, my thoughts on Brian Kelly and LSU. I am not very surprised. I did not think it was a fit when they made the move. They have a extremely high standard there, which is a national championship by year 4. And that is because the last 3 coaches have all done that. And I don't think anybody is holding Les Miles or Ed Orgeron's coaching credentials up against Brian Kelly and saying that they are better football coaches. But they won titles. And it just is one of those situations where he didn't mix well with them. And that's all well and good when you're winning. People will stomach an air quotes outsider or someone that has a surly personality or isn't a great quote. But if they're winning, you don't care. It's like that's our guy. We don't care that, you know. But when you're not winning, it amplifies all those things and all those reasons that people maybe didn't buy into you from the beginning. And you know, it doesn't surprise me, especially when you're losing to Vanderbilt. They were winning at halftime of the Texas A&M game, and then just got run off the field. It wasn't a fit, and I think fits can sometimes be overrated, but I think in some instances fits absolutely do matter. And he just didn't have the personality and the fit for that job. And when you say things like, I took the job because I didn't feel like I had the chance to win a national championship at Notre Dame, and then your predecessor in year 2, I guess, goes to the national or year 3 goes to the national championship, and you're not even sniffing the SEC championship, it makes it a little bit easier. Now, moving forward, I don't know how much you saw of that today. That whole place is an absolute mess right now. You know, you have the the governor involved saying that the AD will not be hiring the next coach. And even going on top of that and saying that Donald Trump has a better chance of hiring the next coach than the AD does. I mean, if you're a coach in the market, aren't you asking, like, who am I working for? Who's making decisions around here? Like that, it's a great job, but man, that is some rough water at the top that would give me major pause about going into that situation.
Well, in that case, you just hire someone who would come in and be the boss, and that would be Nick Saban.
Yeah, I don't think Nick wants to do that at this
$20 million a year
stage in his life.
I still can't believe that they actually talk like that. Like when I turned on that video of that governor talking, I was like taken aback. That's crazy. That's actually how they talk. I can't get over that.
Yeah.
Did you see the report that he hired a DC firm to work on his public image before the season?
Who did, Brian Kelly?
Yeah.
They didn't do a great job. Does it get his money
back? It was an
ESPN
report. This offseason, he hired a firm to work on his public image.
No, I did not see that, and he might want his money back.
I'm very happy that UC figured it out this year, because if it went downhill and Sat ended up getting fired, the rumors would start about him possibly coming back here.
Oh, that was a segment on Cover 3 podcast today. They play like the wheel of whatever, and it's like, yeah, they had that, and I mean, there's a cold day in hell before that happened. No matter what happened. I mean, if we had to find a new coach or somebody offered Sat a ton of money that he couldn't turn down, a cold day in hell before that would happen. It is going to be a very interesting carousel because buyouts don't seem to matter.
Yeah.
And part of me understands why, because Chen and I talked about this a week or two ago. How do you go to your mega donors after a bad year and say, I need you to give us more money to buy more players, to help get more players for the coach that just went, whatever, 2-10, 3-9, 4-8, 5-6, whatever, did not come close to meeting expectations. If I'm a donor, I'm going, why am I throwing more money at a problem when the same people are involved?
I don't get why, like, the time of these inflated coaching contracts need to come to an end because it doesn't make sense anymore in the current landscape, and someone's going to give Lane Kiffin $20 million are like both coming together at the same time. It's
going to be amazing. Like,
I don't get it. Which one is it?
I don't either, but I don't think the contracts are. I mean, I've pitched that on this show that they need to figure, but like, the only way that happens is if they all collude together. If all the universities just say we're not going to do this anymore, because guess what? Somebody in the SEC is going to go, I'm going to do it because I'm going to go get this guy. And I don't care what everybody else, how terrible everybody else. I mean, Indiana just did it. They literally did it like the day before, the day after I said we shouldn't do this anymore. We shouldn't. You just gave a 64-year-old a 10-year fully guaranteed contract. Like that's insanity to me. But they do it because what is the alternative? Because if you don't do that, then who are you going to get? Because the coaches have no reason to say, yeah, I'll do that. Because they can just go to the next school that's going to do it for them. But it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy that, we'll see how bad it gets. But I mean, I've listened to some podcasts where some guys have kind of gamed it out where, okay, this job opened and then this got filled here. So that meant this job opened, and they, you do the whole circle and literally the carousel.
Mm-hmm.
40 to 55 openings are possible. or I should say changes because of, Lane Kiffin goes to LSU. Ole Miss hires so-and-so. Team that lost their coach to Ole Miss now hires so-and-so. And you do this whole, we're talking potentially if Michigan State, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Florida State, Auburn, Kentucky, if all these jobs do end up opening, you could see almost half of FBS change in 1 year.
That's like unfathomable.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's a regular season on NCAA college football dynasty mode. It's a regular season.
Video game. But yeah, are schools willing to go? Are they willing to take a really hard look at themselves and a true self-evaluation of themselves and go, I know it's not good this year, but this is actually where we are in the pecking order.
What? Breaking news.
What?
Per Matt Zenitz, Devin Dampier is expected to start this week.
Well, I told you that an hour and a half ago.
It was still up in the air. Continue.
But are schools going to take an honest look at where they are in the landscape of things and go, this is not the right time to make a change. This is not the right time to pay a $20 million buyout and then hire a coach that is 9th or 10th, 12th, 13th in the pecking order.
Here's
I don't think they are. I'll believe that when I see it. I'll believe that Auburn or Kentucky or Wisconsin or Florida State doesn't make a move when those coaches are signing dudes in January and coaching spring practice. I'll believe it when I see it. But if they're being honest with themselves, they should not pay those buyouts just to hire someone that there's no guarantee will be any better.
Here's my question. In a month from now, who is regretting firing their coach the most?
Penn State. They should already be regretting.
That's what I figured. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I feel like he was the best one out of
you paid James Franklin a ton of money to go away.
Yeah.
And what do you think's more likely? I'll ask you this. What do you think's more likely in the next 10 years? That the next 10 years for Penn State will be better or worse than the previous 10 years?
Worse.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt.
I don't know where this whole thing.
It's literally impossible for them to be better in the next 10 years.
I don't get where this whole thing of they have a national championship standard is coming from.
Well, no, they haven't won one since Joe Paterno was their coach.
And they're acting like that they should be winning national championships. And I love what Nick Saban said about that whole thing on game day, where he was like, it was unfair because you didn't live up to expectations that were only there because you had been so good and had recruited and developed so well. I thought that was very well put by Saban. And
they won 2 playoff games last year. Now, you can say it was against Boise and SMU, but they won 2 playoff games. How many more years do you think it's going to take them to win 2 playoff games?
7.
Sometimes maybe it's just time and there's other things happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. And, pretty much it's actually funny. I heard a thing today that surprisingly in the UC Utah game that neither coach has ever been fired, which is just a stunner in college football these days.
Mm-hmm.
But you were an overtime play away from being the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
And then you lost 2 games that you had no business losing, and I get all that, but it feels like that there is just a total knee-jerk reaction there and not enough foresight to just be, is this really the best move for us into the future?
He could have also, like, the AD could have also thought the thing that a lot of people think. Drew Aller just isn't that good.
Right.
Like,
but I mean, that's on Franklin and the staff. And I mean, he's not infallible in all of this. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But, regardless of what happened in the Oregon game, losing to UCLA and Northwestern is pretty darn bad.
Yeah.
But
now,
I just look at it as, okay, you made that move. You paid him $50 million to go away.
Now what?
who are you getting that's going to replicate what they did over the last 10 years? Or actually not even replicate it, because by firing him and giving him all that money, you're saying that what he was doing wasn't good enough. We need to do better. So you can't even match it. You have to exceed it.
Yeah. If
I'm a fan, that's what I'm thinking, is we got rid of this guy because it wasn't good enough. We can't just do the same thing again. Because if we do, then that's just, why did we spend $50 million to get rid of him?
To get a coach who is worse at what James Franklin does in terms of just not winning big games.
Right. If this was like blind resumes and there were no connections to anybody, there was, who would, like, let's just say, would you rather have James Franklin or Matt Rule coaching the Cincinnati Bearcats?
James Franklin.
100 times out of 100.
Yes. Yeah. Now, do you think Wisconsin is doing the smart thing by not firing Fick?
No, that's so toxic. They have to get rid of him.
Okay, that's what I figured. It's like that's bad.
It's so much more than just like they suck at offense and the football team stinks. Like, I've never, and I don't listen to a ton of it because I don't care, but like, I don't think I've ever seen a program that publicly is just shitting on their coach as much as, like, and they have a lot of former players involved in stuff who I think are still really, really mad they didn't hire Jim Leonard. And now the football team stinking has given them a ton of ammo to maybe stretch the truth a little bit about Fickle and his involvement in the state and his involvement with alumni. I mean, I don't know if any of that is true or false. I mean, I don't care enough to research it for 1 second. But from the outside, it feels like the disaster that it's been is kind of giving them the green light to just go in very aggressively on him and everything that they're doing. And I just, how do you run that back? It goes to my point earlier of, like, you're going to, like, the AD is saying we need to put more money into the football program. Okay. Who's giving you more money when they go 2-10?
Yeah. What's your really, really crazy prediction for which coach gets poached?
I mean, if I was trying to get someone at one of these big jobs, I would, because I tend to like to look at not really record, but like situation. Yeah. Like, I was always I'm a big Sean Lewis fan, and he's proving me right at San Diego State right now, because if you can win 7 games twice at Kent State, like, a lot of our fans know because they're in Ohio. I don't think a lot of national people know. Like, they have the resources and the infrastructure to maybe win 1, 2, 3 games a year. For him to win 7 games twice there tells me, like, you know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
If I was Florida, if I was Penn State for sure, I would be all over Fran Brown at Syracuse.
Okay.
That dude is his personality, his SEC ties. That guy will get unbelievable talent if he's at one of those types of schools. I think he's got it all, and I would be going after a dude like that and not really worried about what the record was at Syracuse this year with their quarterback being hurt for most of the season.
I'm curious. Does someone go after Joey McGuire?
if Joey McGuire doesn't make the Big 12 championship, is Joey McGuire the Texas Tech coach next year?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. If they don't make it, just if they don't make the championship, do you think he's that on the hot seat?
I mean, they spent $50 million on the roster, and going into the season said the expectation is Big 12 championship for a school that's never been to the Big 12 championship. That's the other thing that cracked me up is you've been playing football for how long and you've never done something, and now the expectation is to do the thing that you've never done.
I would say 2 years of that rich of a roster.
What if they lose to Kansas State and then to BYU? And they're not even in the Big 12 title picture the last 2 weeks.
If the worst case scenario happens, I'm trying to think
I don't think he would be I think this, no, I don't think he's like a poachable dude.
Elko wouldn't go anywhere, would he?
No.
That's what I figured.
Elko's got it made, man. Everybody there loves him too. He did all not the dirty work, but he did all the handshaking and kissing babies for Jimbo when he was his defensive coordinator. So that's why everybody liked him so much. So it was just think about that. Could you imagine being a Texas A&M fan and giving Jimbo Fisher $70-something million to go away, and you almost hired Mark Stoops?
It's so funny.
And you ended up with Mike Elko, and you're like, I don't know if you're religious, but you better be, because of the way that went down.
I was talking to my dad about this. If the contracts are going to continue to get so expensive, at what point do NFL coaches start flocking to college more often?
No.
Really?
No.
Okay.
The money isn't the issue. The NFL
it's like double what they're making, isn't it?
Yeah.
If they're signing $20 million contracts.
Guess who doesn't really work all summer?
NFL coaches.
Yeah. Guess who works a lot during the summer on camps and recruiting? No, I do not see a world where NFL coaches, I guess outside of 73-year-old Bill Belichick, start coming back to college. NIL, you've coached in the NFL for a long time, and you're going to come back into this NIL world?
All right. I'm going to go down a list of schools, and you say yes or no on if their current head coach is coaching there next year.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Oregon.
Yes. Oh, for sure. His buyout's insane. And he doesn't want to leave.
Ole Miss.
No. I think Lane's going to move somewhere.
Oh, here's a good one. Georgia Tech.
No.
I didn't even think about Brent Key. No, okay, so he's gone. Vanderbilt.
I would be trying to get Clark Lee. I think it will be extremely hard which I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Marcus Freeman's going to leave. I think he'll stay at Vandy.
So you don't think Marcus Freeman is going to leave? That was going to be my next one.
No.
This is interesting. Tennessee.
No.
Okay.
They're not going to fire him, and he's not getting a bigger job than Tennessee. They have the second biggest budget in the SEC.
Louisville.
That's one I would be trying for if I'm Florida, if I'm LSU. But I'm not sure. I'll say he's there.
Missouri.
I think that opens up.
Because Drinkowitz leaves, or
he gets a nice payday from someone that maybe, whoever maybe lose. Like if Lane picks LSU, I think maybe Florida then goes and tries to get Drink.
Okay. USC?
No, huge buyout.
That's what I figured. Memphis?
If all these dominants happen, then yeah. I feel like Memphis, USF, Tulane, like Summerall's definitely going to an SEC job. It's just a matter of which one pays him the most money.
Jed Fish is he a lock to UCLA? Because I know he interviewed for it right after he took the Washington job.
I don't know. I just don't know why you would want to leave Washington for UCLA.
South Florida.
Yeah, he's leaving.
That's what I figured. San Diego State.
That's more of a maybe. That's contingent on a bunch of jobs opening up.
North Texas.
If Baylor opens, that's the first call I would make.
Here's two really interesting ones that I could see happening. Okay. Illinois.
No.
Okay. Pittsburgh. Go back to Michigan State.
Because he retires? Nobody wants him. If Michigan State fired Jonathan Smith to then pay fire Jonathan Smith after year 2, ate that buyout, then paid Pat Narduzzi's buyout to bring
What's Narduzzi's buyout?
It could be $1 and that's too much. Are you kidding? Like that's going to excite your fan base?
Okay, Clemson.
Only if Dabo just doesn't want to coach anymore.
So they're just giving him a lifetime contract, basically.
Yeah, he's not getting fired, and why would he leave?
Let's see. South Carolina.
If I'm Shane Beamer, I'm probably trying to get to Vatek. Because I just don't know. It's kind of like the reset the clock thing. I don't know how they had a really good year last year at South Carolina, almost made the playoff, had tons of momentum coming into this year. It just didn't work. Are you at South Carolina? Can you really do a lot better than you did last year? Is that kind of the apex of what you can do there? Because if it is, then you're just asking to get fired in a year or two.
SMU.
Probably opens in
it would be Arkansas. That's the only place he would go.
I don't know if it's the only place. I mean,
he's from there, from there. Yeah.
But Bobby Petrino wants that job.
Iowa State.
It's hard.
I feel like he would go to Nebraska if Rule went.
Yeah, that would make sense, but Nebraska, I'm sure, would maybe have some interest in Lance Leipold as well.
Ooh, this is going to be crazy.
I'm telling you, man.
This is going to be so crazy.
If some of these jobs open, all the dominoes, you're really at 40 to 50 changes in without really having to work too hard.
Baylor's going to open. There's no way it doesn't.
Feels like it needs to. And they've got a lot of good Texas candidates to choose from. That's why I feel like it doesn't make sense for it not to open.
What's the vibe on Spencer Danielson? Do people like him?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
I think he's got it pretty good, though, in Boise.
I think Ben Arbuckle gets a job. Oklahoma's offensive coordinator.
He'd make sense for Ryan Silverfield's replacement at Memphis.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Quarterback whisperer. All right. That's all I got. That was fun. Right.
Yeah. It's going to be Willie Fritz is another one Matt brings up that if Matt Rule leaves, I'd be very interested in. He gets ageismed.
He's good.
But he's he doesn't fit that old what he does and the way he builds his team, and he's totally leaned into all the new age elements of it. Just because he's an older guy, everybody assumes he's this old school, I don't like NIL, all that stuff. He's not. So,
I said Arizona State, right?
No, but if Florida State opens, you can almost rubber stamp that thing.
Really? Okay.
I would be stunned if they didn't go hard for him if Florida State opens.
Tucker Wittenberg said no one is saying Abayev is the best player on the team. From my earlier comment, he's probably right. I feel like I'm hand up. I can admit when I'm wrong. Come on. I feel like I'm much higher on Abayev than a lot of people are.
Brent Young might be the biggest Sean Abayev stan,
Okay.
and I think he is saying he is the best player on the team.
I think there are some people who would say it. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion like that most of the fan base would say. I think right now it's, unless I'm missing something, Chom and Baba Miller. And I'll walk back the Abayev as one of the big three. I think by the end of the non-conference slate, he could be up there just on how he's going to score. One, how he does it and how much he does it, because he's going to be so fun to watch. People are going to love him. But yeah. Thanks, Tucker.
So we do have a little, again, we have to take this into consideration with the coach who, I'm not going to say he lies, but probably him. I have some questions about his injury availabilities, which it's just availability. You know,
did that come out?
The guy could, yes. So one of their probably their main or other main deep threat wide receiver target, Tobias Merriweather, is listed as questionable, which probably means he's fine.
Okay.
But the Bearcats list 3 players on the entire availability report. Evan Pryor out, which we already knew about. Terrell Holcomb, true freshman, who hasn't played all year. And then probable Monte Wheaton. So that must mean he is passing all potential concussion protocols and looks good to go. So very, very clean reports for both teams going into Saturday night. So that's all I got. So we went over 2 hours. You did it. I don't know how we did it. Keegan, I think, sandbagged it by doing this whole yes or no thing to get me
talking. That was fun.
To get me talking more coaching changes. But thank you to Keegan for jumping in. Thank you for everybody that always joins in on the chat. Thank you, Cincy Light. Thanks to the Holy Grail, as always. Make sure you get out there Saturday night for the watch party with Chad and everybody else and drink all those Cincy Lights so we can get some more money to these athletes. Thank you to Aaron for helping out with the wonderful ad reads tonight, and we will talk to you guys, or Aaron and Chad will talk to you after the game.
Thanks to Homefield, Apparel, and
Turtles Brew.
Brew.
Everybody. See you guys around, 2 a.m. Saturday night or Sunday morning.